Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let's make sure everything is connected. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Bedad Barami. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Edgecom Energy. And with me, I have Courtney Conway, our customer integrations manager.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
So thanks for taking the time out of your day to join our webinar. The point of this webinar is unveiling the next generation of AI Energy CoPilot. As you know, Edgecom Energy has been working hard on improving our software offerings for the energy management landscape. And the AI Energy Copilot is something we launched a little bit over a year ago that enables data optimization and data processing to happen much smoother and much more efficiently for large energy consumers. And today we'll be unveiling the next generation of this AI Energy Copilot with some of the improvements that we've made to its capabilities. So again, as I mentioned, my name is Bedad Barami. I'm the co-founder and CEO, and we have Courtney Conway.
There's a typo there. My last name is Conway. Some of you guys may already know me if you're one of our customers. If not, welcome. Hopefully you'll be one of our customers soon.
Let me do it again so you can see the animation. So as we know, a lot of energy managers and a lot of people who are optimizing energy consumption are dealing with data overload. This is a major problem, not just in energy, in many spaces. And this is where generative AI and LLMs are really coming to show their power. Edgecom Energy has been combining a subset of various energy management solutions over the past 7 years. And these capabilities enable us to aggregate that data, gather that data, and process that data. A lot of the work that we've done is how do we simplify this data and how do we actually turn it into insights and how do we turn this data into something that's useful for energy managers and facility managers and for utilities to be able to basically take action on this data. The data that we've been aggregating and collecting over the past few years has two parts. So there is DSO programs and ISO programs. So things like demand response, grid demand, grid prices, price arbitrage, any sort of grid program type data we've been collecting and aggregating and optimizing using traditional machine learning models. And we also gather facility data using our data track platform. So our IoT sensors and our software solution enables us to gather not just grid data, but also facility data and optimize that and give the end user a really easy to use and really easy to understand processing of that data. P-Track is our traditional machine learning model for predicting what's happening on the grid. So it predicts demand forecasts, it predicts price forecasts. Data Track is our platform for gathering and analyzing facility data. So you can think of it like an energy management information system empowered by really easy to install and really easy to set up IoT devices. And then NeuroCharge is our controls engine. So it allows us to connect to battery systems, EV fleets, and any other type of DER and control it in an optimal way to maximize cost savings. And our AI Copilot is a solution that we're building across our product portfolio. And it's already enabling new ways to interact with these systems, but it's also going to continue to grow and continue to evolve in terms of the capabilities that it has. So Courtney, you want to take this one?
For sure. So up until this point, we know that data enables us to do a lot of things. So on this slide here, we have data can open doors into visibility, retrofit justification. So again, if you want to implement a new asset or upgrade something, you want to be able to have the data historically and then currently to be able to do that comparison and know that your retrofit was actually a good decision, and you can pass it along to your decision makers and leadership team as well. Additionally, enhanced decision making, that one is pretty straightforward. ESG reporting, as we know, a lot of mandates are coming into play now where facilities are going to be required to actually report on their energy and emissions. So having the data easier to gather, as Bedad mentioned, would make ESG reporting a lot simpler. Grid programs, same thing as Bedad mentioned, especially for P-Track and demand response, being able to accurately identify what your curtailment efforts were, and also seeing where there's room for more curtailment. So data enables us to do that, as well as production optimization and energy optimization. But what's really important is that all of these types of data that we're looking for that's going to be important will be able to be given to us through our AI Copilot, which we're creating, and other AI analysis that are going to be done down the road. And what's really great about this is we're going to be closing those communication gaps that we see as bottlenecks, especially when implementing new projects or retrofit. Being able to access the data right away without having to go through numerous people or different departments will make everything a lot easier, especially when we talk about participating in those grid programs.
And we'll be giving a demo at the end of this of how our Copilot works and all the capabilities that it has currently. So stay tuned for that. So Edgecom Energy is not just a Copilot. We have years of proven traction when it comes to optimizing energy and providing this data to some of Canada's largest energy consumers. So anything from a big pulp and paper facility like West Fraser, they're in the order of 40, 50 megawatts per plant. Alamos Gold, about over 20 megawatts. And we have a lot of other types of clients that are getting significant benefits from these solutions. All in all, we're serving over 831.5 megawatts of load on the grid in Canada right now. And this really speaks to the accuracy of the data and the data processing capabilities that we have. And again, right now we're in 150 facilities throughout North America. Some of Canada's largest energy consumers trust us with their peak predictions, with their energy analysis, and we've been growing at a very, very rapid pace. And really the differentiator between Edgecom and maybe some other players that are doing bits and pieces of this is the cohesive approach that we have, right? So we didn't come at this from, let's solve one problem for energy management, which is maybe just peak predictions or demand response programs. We actually came to this from a holistic approach, right? How do we give you one tool, one platform that covers everything you need to optimize your energy consumption and everything you need to hit your sustainability goals? And that's why we're a certified B Corp as well. So this puts a stamp of approval on our sustainability and our DEI initiatives, which really is an important core pillar of why Edgecom exists and what we're aiming to do. Now, in terms of the Copilot, we recently won an award, 2 awards actually, out of thousands of companies globally that competed to partner with ABB. So if you're not familiar, ABB is an international electrification company, essentially. So they provide all different types of infrastructure for utilities and basically hardware for the grid. So ABB and Microsoft hosted a challenge a few months ago where they were looking for a partner to work on them, to work on generative AI capabilities and LLM platforms. So Edgecom won that competition. It was a global competition, thousands of companies. And this one just got announced last week as well. We also won an award with Shell, very similarly, to launch a Copilot for energy optimization with Shell throughout their facilities. So what we're delivering to ABB specifically is going to be added into the Copilot over the coming few months. And really what it is it's a Copilot that's integrated directly into ABB Ability's energy management software suite. So Edgecom, we have our own DataTrack energy management system, but we're enabling other vendors in the energy ecosystem to take advantage of some of the solutions that we have as well. Our mantra and the reason that Edgecom exists is to make energy management optimized, regardless of how we do it or regardless of which ecosystem you're already tied into. So this interoperability that we have really enables us to reach more clients and have a larger impact on energy management worldwide. This Copilot is going to enable day-ahead optimal load scheduling. So you can imagine an industrial facility that needs to schedule for their day or for their week or for their month. And they need to schedule those jobs on different machines very accurately. And they need to do it in a way that it's not going to affect their shipping timelines that they have. What our Copilot is enabling is bringing in another variable, which is energy costs and energy insights and emissions insights into that production planning process through an easy-to-use Copilot. So the operations manager will be able to upload his production schedule. The Copilot will make some recommendations of, hey, if you run this device during this day instead of this day, or during this hour instead of this hour, these are the costs and emission reductions that you'll be able to receive from that. And the goal is to basically optimize energy consumption and flatten the load profile and really optimize the load profile of industrial facilities with what's happening on the grid to get them cost savings and emission reductions. Courtney?
And I just do want to add on to the last few slides that Beta talked about. A lot of our road mapping and the things that we think of that would be really great features, including the AI Copilot, they don't just come from us and what we think would be, a good product or service. It actually comes from our clients directly. We spend a lot of time speaking with them, getting their feedback, and asking what would be useful or beneficial for them in the future. So a lot of these things that we're working on and all the growth that we've seen, although it's so exciting, we wouldn't be able to do it without all of our customers and all the clients who've been giving us feedback on it. And now going into our roadmap with that being said, so these are our 2024 deliveries. Some of them we are still working on as we approach the end of the year, but we started off with comparative analysis. So this was kind of the basic prompts that you see in the AI Copilot. Deeper comparative analysis of specific assets at specific timeframes. So when Beta gives the demonstration, you will be able to see an example of this, but just easily being able to say, hey, what was my boiler doing today compared to yesterday? Out of all the days in this week, what was the highest load or consumption that we saw? And being able to just ask these questions without having to do a lot of analysis or manual work is extremely exciting. So moving on, we've got into API connections. So some of our customers don't always have their data available on our portal, which we totally understand. There's lots of bottlenecks involved with installations. So that's why we came up with the API connections or connectors. Essentially, if you have data elsewhere through a SCADA or a BAS system, we can easily tap into that using APIs and actually host that data on our portal. So from there, you can actually do the same analysis with the AI Copilot, same thing with ptrack and datatrack, but with your own data. Then we moved on to CSV downloads. So it's great having all that data available. Sometimes maybe you don't want to work on the platform or the portal itself. So we've made it easy to actually download your data, whether it be your sensor information, emissions information, utility information. We've been able to make a very easy and user-friendly way to download data, which I know is very important because as someone who has personally had to download data from utility portals, being able to make it as easy and user-friendly as possible was really important to us. And lastly is production questions. So this ties into a lot of what Beta just mentioned that we're going to be doing with ABB and Shell. But the idea is to produce a deeper production analysis than what you would be able to do manually. So by having your production data available and integrated to the Copilot, you can actually ask it direct questions regarding your energy or emissions in terms of what you actually produced. This might be hard to visualize right now, but as we do the demonstration, we have some really cool questions that we'll ask to showcase this a bit better. Here we have some statistics regarding our AI Copilot. So the response accuracy is at about 95%. So as a company who just released an AI Copilot this year, this is actually a very, very good metric. It's not 100%, but we're almost there. Secondly, we have a 33% decrease in response time since Q1. Again, if you've tried any AI Copilots since they've come out with different service providers, they might have been a little bit, glitchy or janky in the beginning. We've actually been able to increase ours so that any hardships or slow responses we're seeing are decreased by 33%. And we're actively working on that. We're trying to make it as fast as possible so you guys can get answers as quick as possible as well.
So what we're working for in 2025, we're very excited for the announcements that we have coming up. So Q1 and Q2 are going to be very aggressive product rollouts that we're going to have. Very soon, we're going to be launching our mobile app. So that mobile app will have Copilot built in and peak management also built in. The first beta of that is going out, I think, this week, and then full launch, I think, end of Q1, that'll be available. Our ABB Ability integration, that is planned for the end of Q1 as well. So very aggressive timeline on that, and that's going to be an international rollout. Chart generation through prompts. So this, as a former energy manager, this is one of the things that excites me the most, is the ability to basically get baseline charts, do benchmarking across facilities, but not just as a prompt where you get data in text, actual visual charts and graphs that basically show you, here's the analysis of this device versus that device, or here's the analysis between this facility versus that facility. So it's really exciting that we're going to be building that in, and I think it's going to save energy managers and facility managers thousands of hours dealing with the data overload that we all have. In that same kind of realm, we'll be adding our utility bill analyzer. So that's also very exciting. So instead of having to go in and manually upload bills or scan them and go through some headache with OCR and trying to figure out what do these bills mean and putting them in an Excel file and trying to get them optimized, we're actually going to be enabling utility bill uploads and analysis. So you upload your 12 months of bills and you ask it, what was my global adjustment cost, for example, for these bills for this facility. And then production data analysis. So what we've realized is that one of the most important independent variables when it comes to energy analysis is weather, obviously. So weather corrected baselines, everybody knows. But there's also production corrected baselines that most of our clients have been asking us for, right? So my energy data is only as important and as valuable as how much actual material I produce or how many widgets I produce. So correlating production to energy right in the CoPilot very simply and very easily is something that we're working on. This will probably be coming out Q2 of 25, but it's something that we're very excited about. So now we're going to get into the live demo. So we have some use cases which we thought of that would make a lot of sense for facility managers and energy managers to use this CoPilot and to get benefits. So I have everything loaded up here. Now I'm going to ask it some questions specifically around the global adjustment program. So we know that analyzing PDFs and all that stuff is something that maybe sometimes it's a little bit of a headache for energy managers. You got to go back, download those CSVs, put it in an Excel file, do the analysis. So we're going to do a couple of things for PDF analysis and the global adjustment program. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it, what meters are you connected to? So this is connected on the back end to all of our sub-metered devices through DataTrack. And we have some gas meters, some power meters, some water meters. So it knows that these are the meters that it's connected to. So now I want to ask it, let's bring up the 5 peaks. So you can see here, this is a report for a sample customer, and these are the peaks that occurred last season. So I will be uploading these peaks into here, and we got to clean up the data a little bit. So we can't just, expect it to understand that. So we'll clean up the data a little bit. And what I'll be doing is, so these are the peaks, peak 1 September, and I'll erase that, erase the extra data that we don't need. And I'll erase that. And then what I'll do is I'll put an hour ending here, right? So hour ending, hour ending, hour ending, hour ending. Okay, now I want to tell it, what is this, right? So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say, these are the top 5 peaks for the global adjustment ICI program for this base period. And I'm going to say, let me know the consumption of, let's just pick a meter, production line 1 during these peaks. So now it's going to go back, it's going to analyze that data, it's going to know the dates, and it's going to say September 5th, hour ending 17. This is the consumption that that device had. Now it has to go on the back end, it has to pull all the data from DataTrack, it has to pull all the data for the peaks. So now you can see here, right? So I put hour end HE17, but it knew that HE17 means hour ending. I didn't tell it that. This is something that it knew itself from all the training that we've done throughout the years. The peaks got ranked over here. So you can see September 5th. It knew Sep5 means September 5th. It knew that this is the consumption of that device. And it was able to pull out all that data. Now you can see here September 4th, the facility was pretty curtailed. It was 35.6. So that's a really, really good sign. It was also a holiday. There you go. Now the next question I'll ask it is, so let's say we want to focus on the September 4th, 2023 peak. So in many cases, it's better to start a new chat so it doesn't get confused and it knows exactly what we're talking about. So now I'm going to start a new chat and I'm going to say, this was the peak. So there was an ICI peak on September 4th, 2023 at hour ending 18. Rank the power draw of all my devices on that hour, right? So now it's going to rank which devices had the most consumption during that hour, and it's going to give me those devices back in a list, right? So there was an ICI peak, rank the power draw of all my devices on that hour. So now let it do its thing. So you can see here, now it's ranking them. So main, obviously your main meter had the largest power draw, feeder 1. And you could start to imagine how this would be really easy and how helpful this would be for you to start calculating ICI savings and to go throughout your facility, talk to the operations managers, make them, do more curtailments and make specific changes in how they operate. So that's another example of what it would be able to do. Now, there is no pre-programming here, right? So this has been taught based on real data and customer use cases. So anything that people have tried to do in the CoPilot before, it learns how to manage those kinds of requests. Sometimes it makes errors, so then our programmers have to go on the back end and teach it how to solve that problem. So it's really interesting, right? It's actually intelligent in terms of energy management, and it's able to give a lot of these insights. Now, one thing which I really enjoy, and I think it's really cool, and this is something I did thousands of times again as an energy manager, is PDF analysis. So you can see here on the right side, I have my peak demand factor report, which the utility provided. And then on the left side here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, this is my facility's peak factor, peak factor for the, let's see, during the period May 1, 2023 to April 30th, 2024. So now I copied and pasted it there. And then I can just tell it, assuming the global adjustment cost pool will be 8.5, let's just make a projection, $billion this upcoming season. What should I expect to pay for global adjustment? Now, for those of you that don't know, the global adjustment is a really large line item on any large energy consumer's electricity bill here in Ontario. And it usually makes up 30 to 60% of your total bill's cost. And it's a very controllable line item, right? So by reducing demand during the 5 peaks, you could get significant cost savings. If you're not familiar with the program, make sure you reach out to us and we'll be able to give you more insights on how to optimize it and how to manage it. So you can see here, I just gave it the PDF from this report. I gave it an estimate of the global adjustment for all of Ontario. Now, it should be able to say it's $854,000. So I've, we could easily confirm the math here on the calculator. And when you confirm the math, you could see here that the PDF 0.0010057 times 8.5, 123, 123, 123. So it's 854, 845, right? So it's able to do that. Now, I'm going to ask it a couple of other questions regarding energy and emissions and all those kinds of things. So veering away from global adjustment and peak demand factor optimization. And the problem with a lot of these LLMs is that they hallucinate. So there's this word that we use, it's called hallucination, which means they make stuff up sometimes, right? So we've done a lot of testing and a lot of analysis to make sure that the data that this CoPilot provides is actually accurate. It's been vetted, and it's the real information that you're getting access to. So we'll start with some information here. So for example, one of the questions I'm going to ask is, imagine in a processing facility that processes milk, right? So we produce 300 liters of milk on production line 1 this month. What was the per liter energy intensity? What else do we want? Cost intensity.
And emissions?
And emissions, right? So we want to know what are the emissions, scope 2 emissions associated with producing that 300 liters of milk on production line 1. Now, again, it has to go on the back end, it has to pull the data, it has to understand a few things. So now you can see here, it's actually giving me the calculation as well to calculate per liter energy intensity, cost intensity, and you can see down here. So Total energy was 295. The total cost was $8,000. Now this cost is hope, not global adjustment. We're building global adjustment into this as well. But right now this cost is only hope. And then total emissions for production line 1, 21,000 kilograms, and total production was 300 liters, which we know. Now it's going to run the calculations on a intensity basis. So it's going to divide it by the number of liters. And we know now per liter, these are the figures. And this is easily, you can cut and paste this. You can take a screenshot, send it, add it to any of your reports or anything you did. Now he did a good job, so I'm going to give him a plus there. Now some of the other data we're going to start verifying, right? So Courtney, you ready to do some verification?
Yes.
Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to ask it again, what meters are you connected to? So I like to remind it that these are the meters it's connected to. And okay, so it knows the meters obviously. Now I'm going to say rank my devices by the energy consumption they had yesterday and give me the percentage breakdown of total that each of them consumed. So again, I want to break down, like, were my chillers 10% of my bill from yesterday, or were my boilers, or how much is each device contributing to the overall energy demand? So let's see if it can rank it and pull that up.
I already have it open.
So again, you can see here, it's pulling the kilowatt hour consumption from those devices, and then it's ranking them based on the percentage that they made up. Now again, because we have main meter here, so we should remove that, but it's okay. Right now, this gives a good example of the total consumption and the percentage that each of them made up.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen briefly so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Coming through. Okay, great. Okay, so this is our data track panel here. Right now, I've gone ahead and selected every single one of the sensors, and these are the same sensors that you could have seen on the previous page with the question that Beta asked. Now, if I come down here, we actually have a daily consumption section on data track. And so if I come up to November 25th and I just hover over, I can see all of the sensors and exactly what their daily consumption was. So main, I can see your computer is about 52,000 as
52,042.
So we are reading 51,425. Now this is slightly off. The reason being is because there is some rounding that happens in the back end, but it should be within 95 to 99% accurate.
Yeah, so I just did the calculation quickly here. So if you just take 51,425 and divided by 52,042. So the accuracy, it's 99.8%, right? So because we're doing a little bit of rounding there on the main, that's why there's a little bit of discrepancy.
The same thing. It's unfortunate that we can't share two screens at the same time to make this a bit easier to see. But same thing, feeder one, I'm reading 28,305, and I can see beta is showing 28,715. So still roughly within the same. If for any analysis, it'd be very beneficial. But for the most part, it's pretty accurate. So
nice. Thank you, Courtney. That was good.
So I'll stop sharing so he can ask another question.
So now the next thing that it's able to do, now imagine how exciting this will be once it's able to actually create charts and graphs, right? So being able to see this stuff visually will be really amazing, and it'll be much more easily shareable. Now I want to ask it some other questions. So again, I'll start a new chat over here, and we'll say some energy sort of trend analysis, right? So which days of the week typically have the highest and lowest energy cost in October? So if you're planning shifts, if you want to understand, where your costs are going, what are the highest days where you're consuming the most energy? Now, again, imagine once production insights are built into this, that'll be a lot more powerful, right? But right now, it still allows you to do some trending and some analysis and really get to the bottom of some of the issues that you might have in your facility. So it's saying in October 2023, the days of the week with the highest and lowest energy costs are as follows. So you can see Wednesdays typically have a cost of this, Tuesdays have this, lowest energy costs are Saturday. And you can imagine that makes sense, right? Wednesday had the highest. So this is aggregating a bunch of data throughout the month, and it's giving you that kind of consumption. And then another example of a question that we could ask is, which hour of the week typically has the highest consumption for boiler, right? So we want to know, are there any discrepancies? Is there any outage? Is there any issues? Which hour had the highest consumption for the boiler? Just thinking hard. So what it's really doing is it's taking my English and it's converting it to code, and then it's going into the database, pulling that data, running that code, and then giving the answer that we're looking for. So you can see here, the hour of the week that typically has the highest average consumption for the boiler is Mondays at 12, which again makes sense, right? You're usually Mondays are, you've been shut down over the weekend, and on Mondays you're consuming the most, right? So these are some examples of the CoPilot. Again, there's a lot of capabilities that we're building into this and optimizing into this. Controls capability is coming down the pipe, production data, graph capabilities. It's really going to enable you as an energy manager, as a facility manager, as an operations manager to really get that data you need, get those insights that you need, and make quicker, better decisions without having to spend hours and hours in Excel. And it's all verified data, right? So we are energy managers, and we are building this for anyone who needs to manage energy. So again, thank you for joining us. Now, before we go, there's just one announcement I want to make. So Courtney mentioned this earlier in the webinar. So we are very, very client driven, and we take feedback to heart very, very seriously. And what we're working on right now is an energy management advisory group. So this is an invitation only offer. We're asking for 10 Ontario energy managers to be part of this advisory group to shape the development of the CoPilot roadmap. You'll be having some meetings directly with our CTO, and you'll be able to see a sneak peek into the products that we're working on and what's coming out, and test some of the cool new stuff that we have planned. It's by invitation only. The link is here. We'll also send out the link in the follow-up email of the recording of the webinar. And you just go there, fill out the form, and we'll be picking 10 energy managers to participate in this. Whoever is selected will be receiving, whoever is selected and participates will be receiving a $200 Amazon gift card for 1 hour of their time to start. And this is something that we're very excited about, and we're hopeful that it will shape our development and give you a lot of good insights and value as you're going through your energy management journey. So with that said, I want to thank you for your time. I want to leave a little bit of time for any questions that any of the attendees might have. So feel free to drop them in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself. I don't know, Christine,
we have,
if we can unmute.
Questions already, if you want to start with those.
Okay, go ahead, Court.
So the first one is from Max, and he says, how does the pricing work for the CoPilot and for the platform itself?
Thanks for that question, Max. So if you are interested, we could have one of our guys, or I myself could give you a call after the webinar. Typically, the way that we do it is we have multiple tiers depending on the size of your facility, depending on the number of devices that you need, and depending on some subsets of how many of our services you need. We really have 3 different capabilities in this platform. So there's PTrack, there's DataTrack, and there's the CoPilot. So depending on, again, the size, the number of meters, and all those kinds of things, there's different pricing schemes. Our pricing really ranges from about 10,000 all the way up to about 100,000 per year, depending on your size and all those kinds of things. So can't really give you an answer there, but it's definitely something that we'll reach out after, and we'll have a discussion. Thank you.
And then secondly, from one of our favorites, Julia Sai, she says, in the question statement, we missed to provide key input data. Will the AI CoPilot prompt you to provide that missing data? For example, if you didn't say the Ontario GA cost is 8.5 billion, will the CoPilot just quit and prompt I don't understand or no answer type of response?
That's actually a really good question. So in all the testing that I've done, it will ask for you to upload that data, right? So if it doesn't have the data that it needs, it errors out. And because it's been trained that when you're when you're calculating global adjustment, you're going to need to know what is the global adjustment cost pool. It will ask, now it depends on other questions you've asked it in the past. So each CoPilot is being customized for each specific client as well. So the answer that I might get on my laptop might not be the same answer that you get on your laptop, but this is definitely something that we're working to improve. And that's where that 95% accuracy comes in, right? So it's, we give it data, we get the answers, and then we give pass or fail on the answer. Was that a good answer or a nonsensical answer? That's where that 95% comes through. But it's definitely something that is continuously improving. That's the downside of these LLMs, and what makes them different than traditional software is that they learn from each specific user. So the answers that one person might get might be different than the answers that somebody else might get. Now, fresh out of the box, you'd obviously get the same answers, but because it's learning your capabilities and your needs, it slightly changes. So this is definitely something that we've tested, and from our end, it has worked. If you test it as well and you get a different result, let us know, and we'll have our LLM engineers work on that. But yeah, it should be prompting you for the missing data.
Yeah. And to add to that, at this point of time, because all of this is so new, not just for us, but for everyone who's starting with AI in their industries, it is a learning curve. So that's why we actually ask for the data. So that's the way that the AI is actually teaching itself. So whatever it doesn't know, it's prompted to ask you, so that way it can educate itself moving forward. We prefer it do that than give you just a wrong answer and make an assumption. So as Beta mentioned, it's learning.
You got to think of instead of thinking of these as an all-knowing software, you almost have to think of it as like your assistant, like really a person, right? So if a person makes mistakes, you got to teach it, right? You got to teach that person how to do that, right? So you got to think of the CoPilot kind of the same way.
Mm-hmm. But again, with the whole program that we're starting, where we're going to be reaching out to the energy managers, if you guys apply, that would be a really great opportunity for us to kind of work out any of these kinks and then add any additional questions that we might not already have within our AI Copilot's backend. And that's it for questions right now. Again, feel free to...
Oh, there's one more question. Oh. It just popped up. Sorry about that. There's two more questions. Oh. From Mazie and Bahar.
Okay. Okay, so the first one is, will there be a similar webinar for NeuroCharge, P-Track, or DataTrack?
Yes, so we're doing a whole subset of webinars about our different products over the coming months. Typically, we do our webinars for P-Track in the Q1 of the year, because the opt-in period for global adjustment Class A customers is May. So the period starts in May, and then the opt-in is June, as you know. So we typically plan those for early on in the year. So yeah, there'll definitely be a P-Track webinar coming up and a NeuroCharge webinar coming up. And we'll make sure that you're added to our mailing list, so you know about those stuff. But thank you, Mazie.
All right, and next question from Bahar. I was wondering if DataTrack and P-Track are open systems compatible with multiple protocols for interfacing with SCADA and BACS servers. Additionally, can they communicate with power meters other than your own?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, so the way that we've built our platform is that it's, again, very interoperable. So everything is modular, right? Everything is built on REST APIs, and you're able to connect different data sources as you see fit. We do have API documentation available as well. P-Track has a very robust API that provides the peak predictions that we make and the hours of the peak and the chance of the peak, and you're able to take that and integrate it within your SCADA, within your BAS if you need to. If you want to go one step further and actually have us connect to your SCADA remotely and control certain aspects of your operations, that's where NeuroCharge comes in. And we're currently doing that for batteries, for EV fleets, for HVAC systems, anything in your facility that you feel comfortable letting be remotely controlled is where NeuroCharge comes in. And it uses the same backend and the same information as P-Track. The P-Track platform. So yeah, definitely interfacing with other systems. We're very open to that, and we can provide API documentation. And then in terms of communicating with power meters other than our own, this is something that's very important to us, because we know a lot of facilities already have some legacy metering systems. So we've built integrations with different types of meters that are out there in the field And we gather the data from the already installed meters, and then we also supplement that with our own IoT devices for more granular metering as well. So we're able to do both. Depends on the type of meter, depends on the protocols that it uses. We also have a Modbus reader that's able to actually connect to any kind of meter and just gather Modbus data and then send that data up to our cloud. So it's pretty open-ended, and it should work. If you send us technical details, we'll be able to have our IoT engineering team take a look at that and see the potential there.
I believe that's it for questions right now.
Okay, so no more questions?
I think I'll just give it another minute in case there's some people asking late questions. And I believe we will be sending out a follow-up email with any information, including that link that we showed, and either the recording or probably the slides. Okay, so I think we're good for questions now.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so if you guys have any further questions that you think of later on, feel free to reach out to us. As I mentioned, you should be getting some follow-up information as well. And again, we're always happy to help.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.